Hey, my name is Matt Johnson. It's 2021, and one of the most common questions that I've received lately is, should I buy a Sony a7S II? The a7S II has been discontinued by Sony, and they aren't making any new models, but the used market is practically flooded with used a7S IIs, so you can pick one up for a pretty reasonable price at around $1,200. So you may be thinking to yourself, should I buy a Sony a7S II? Today, I want to answer that question, and in a surprising twist, I want to actually give you 3 reasons why I do not think that buying the a7S II is a good decision, and why I think you should look at the a7 III and a7C instead. To round it out though, I do have one reason why I think the a7S II is a good buy, even in 2021. So, grab your beard, and let's talk about this camera. Starting off, let's look at the autofocus. The a7S II has autofocus, but it's a contrast-based autofocus system that's mediocre at best. I don't consider it reliable enough for professional work, so for the 5 years that the a7S II is my primary camera, I basically only used manual focus and pretended the autofocus didn't exist. Thankfully, Sony recognized that autofocus was a shortcoming, and just a few years later, they released the a7 III, a camera that contains many of the same video features as the a7S II, but it also includes a much improved phase detect autofocus system that is light years better than the a7S IIs. I actually trust the a7 III's autofocus. I think it works quite well, and it makes the a7 III a very compelling choice over the a7S II. Likewise, the newer Sony a7C is even cheaper than the a7 III and also includes a similar autofocus system, and I think that's a great choice over the a7S II as well. Moving on now, let's go into the second reason that I don't recommend the a7S II. And whereas you may have not thought the autofocus is that big of a deal, you can get by with manual focus, that's what Hollywood does, well, this second reason here is a huge deal, and I guarantee it will affect you if you purchase the a7S II. The second reason that I don't recommend the a7S II is the battery life. The a7S II uses very small, low-capacity NP-FW50 batteries, and if you're shooting in 4K, which I would argue is one of the primary reasons you would want to be considering purchasing this camera, you can expect roughly 1 hour of battery life, maybe a smidge more at best. At best. This means you don't need to buy just 1 or 2 batteries. You're going to need to buy a lot of batteries. If you're filming a longer event like a wedding, which I film a lot of, I would commonly go through between 4 to 6 batteries on a wedding day. Factor in that I also recommend only using name brand Sony batteries to prevent incompatibilities, and you're looking at spending hundreds of dollars on batteries for this camera as well. I currently own 12 batteries for my 2 a7S IIs. That's $600 in batteries at today's current prices, and I actually paid more whenever I bought many of these batteries several years ago when they were more expensive. Let's contrast this battery life now with Sony's newer cameras. The a7 III and a7C, as well as most of Sony's other newer cameras as well, use the new NP-FZ100 batteries, which are significantly larger and offer 2.5 to 3 times the battery life of the NP-FW50s the a7S II uses. You can expect 2 to 3 hours or more of battery life from these batteries, and whenever I filmed a wedding with the a7 III, I suddenly found myself only having to use 2 batteries instead of 6. I was under less stress, I wasn't worried about battery life or charging, and I also saved a lot of money because I didn't need to buy as many batteries. So, in short, the battery life of the a7S II is short, and considering how much the battery life of Sony's newer cameras has improved, I don't think that the a7S II is worth it. Now, closely tied to battery life and batteries in general is the third reason that I don't recommend the a7S II, and that third reason is future upgradability. If you invest in the a7S II and its smaller NP-FW50 batteries, in the event that you ever decide to upgrade in the future to a more advanced Sony camera like the a7 III, a7C, a7S III, or any other future camera that may come out like the a7 IV, all these batteries that you bought for the a7S II, of which I'm sure there will be many, they're not going to work with any future Sony camera. There's basically zero chance that Sony's going back to these batteries. And so, while yes, there are currently better deals to be found for the a7S II camera body, once you factor in that you're going to need to spend hundreds of dollars on batteries, the price gap between the a7S II and the a7 III and a7C starts getting smaller and smaller, especially if you start looking at used models of these cameras. Because all of Sony's newer cameras share the same FZ100 battery type, I'm confident that the odds are they're going to most likely continue supporting that same battery type into the future. I think that the a7 III and a7C offer you a much better upgrade path, where you can bring along at least some of the accessories with you whenever you upgrade to a new camera in the future. Now, if I haven't convinced you yet, I actually do have one last bonus reason that I don't recommend the a7S II, and that is this camera only has one SD card slot. All of Sony's newer full-frame cameras from the a7 III on have dual SD card slots, meaning that if you ever experience a memory card failure, you will have a backup. And if you are a working professional and you're doing things like filming weddings like me that are one-take events where you don't get any do-overs, having that extra security of a second SD card recording makes me feel a lot better, and I think it's completely worth it. Now, all that said, I did promise you one reason why I think the a7S II is still a good choice, even so many years after it came out. And that one reason is that this camera is still dang good in low light. For the price, I don't see you finding a cheaper camera that will compare in pure low-light performance at extremely high ISOs. And when I say extreme, I really do mean extreme, because having used both the a7 III and the a7S II, I'm completely confident using the a7 III up to ISO 16,000. But once you start to push past that, the image starts to fall apart quickly. In comparison, the a7S II performs well up to ISO 32,000, and I've even filmed with it in moonlight up to ISO 64,000. So, and this is a really weird niche use, but if you find yourself commonly filming in moonlight with no external lighting, or other extremely dark scenarios over ISO 16,000 where you need stellar low light performance, then, and only then, do I recommend the a7S II. Otherwise, considering that the a7 III and a7C both have the same exact video features as the a7S II, the exact same 4K resolution, exact same codec, exact same bitrate, exact same frame rate options, but they build on that camera with stellar autofocus and incredibly long battery life, and an upgrade path to use those batteries into the future, that's why I don't recommend you purchase the Sony a7S II. In conclusion, let me wrap this up and throw one more wrench into your buying decision-making process by saying that if you have room in your budget and you want a camera that will solidly beat all of these cameras that I've talked about today, stop agonizing over which one to buy and just buy a Sony a7S III. It's better than all these cameras in basically every single way. It makes improvements in every area, and it's easily my favorite and best camera that I've honestly ever used. That said though, if you can't afford the a7S III, the a7 III or the a7C would be my second choice. With that, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it was helpful to you if you're considering picking up an a7S II, an a7 III, a7C, any camera at all. Hope it's helpful. It would be a huge help to me if you would consider liking this video and subscribing if you want to see more videos like it in the future. Also, if you happen to be a wedding filmmaker like me. I used a lot of wedding filmmaking examples in this video. If you're a wedding filmmaker, you probably want to book more couples and film more weddings. To help you out with that, I've created a free guide that's going to walk you through some practical steps that you can take right now in your business to book more couples and film more weddings. It's a completely free gift to you. You can download it at the link down in the video description. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.